And seat, as he called it, is Dr. Mike Sullivan of the LCOOU Ojibwe University. And he's here to talk about some of the things that are happening at the university. Good morning, sir.
Anin Mark Bonjour. Dinaway
Bonjour.
Maganadog, give it WOJB, Bazindamig. Anin.
I wish I could get more of that Ojibwe in me, too. That's just.
Registration's open for Ojibwe class, Mark.
I took introduction to Ojibwe culture, but that's as far as I got. And Michelle taught me some, the greeting.
Yeah.
And of course, I haven't practiced it very well, so I got to do that again. But, it's been, you've been at the college now, how long?
2 years, so I'm just getting ready to start my third year there.
Wow. Yeah, and I was just mentioning before we went on the air, we haven't really talked since probably before COVID when you were over at Wadukadani.
Yeah. So I was at Wadukadani a long time, and still there, still help out on Fridays over there with drum class. And today is a special day for them. They have the promotion, the graduation, so to speak.
Okay.
So today's their big day where they get their certificates and get recognized. So
wow. So that wasn't part of last Friday when the LCOOU school was graduating a lot of students. Wadukadani's having their own.
Yep, they have their own every year.
Okay.
Their own little promotion ceremony.
Wow. Very, very cool. So what's been happening at the university? There's some programming that you're working on and language club. Let's get into some of these things that you're working on.
Yeah, so I got to the college a couple years ago, and we started working on language curriculum and the programming, kind of revamping how that looked, and there's been a huge response to that. So our language program is thriving, and the students are showing up, and we have students from all over Anishinaabe with King. So not only LCO area residents, we have all of our outreach sites, as you know of, at Bad River, Red Cliff, and Lac du Flambeau, and we have students that tune in via Zoom for those classes. Okay. And really, really impressive commitment and dedication that we're seeing from our language students over there. So we're working on that. We're just added Ojibwe and Ekonaning, so the 5th semester of Ojibwe. Our first 300 level Native Studies class will be on the books this fall. So that's going to be a 3-credit upper level language class. So we're excited about that. And then we'll be rolling out the 6th level in the spring, and then hopefully 7 next fall and 8. So the goal is to have 4 years of language classes. And so that's what we're doing on the Native Studies side of things. And I think what's more exciting is the teacher program development that's underway. So we're approved by the accrediting institution, HLC, to offer a bachelor's program, education program for teacher training. And the position's posted to run that program. If anybody out there is listening and interested in running a teacher program here for the university, get your materials in. But that program, one of the biggest needs in Anishinaabe country is lack of teachers. You can talk to any Anishinaabe community and they'll tell you that lack of our own Anishinaabe teachers. So, trying to respond to that need in our communities and the communities that we serve is really a goal. And when you think about the teacher shortage or Anishinaabe teacher shortage, it's even more sorry of a situation when it comes to our language immersion educators. And we have a growing number of language immersion schools in our territory. And so what we're building now at the university is an immersion track within that teacher program. So for individuals that want to work at places like Wadukadading and Mesabekong and Nigani and all these immersion schools spread throughout our area here, there really is no cookie cutter program out there in the mainstream that will prepare teachers for work in those immersion classrooms. So we're really trying to answer that call and build something really unique, and we partnered with the Midwest Indigenous Immersion Network, Gimiwan's organization, and they run this sort of huge operation of connecting all the immersion schools and sharing resources and trainings, and so there's a real demand from all the different tribes and areas that we serve for this line of work. So hopefully, we get through the proper clearances, get our ducks in a row, and the curriculum ready to go. Maybe in the springtime we could roll out a class or two, and maybe hopefully next fall we'll have a huge kickoff and rollout and marketing for that.
Sure. Yeah. So this development teacher training program is not just for language teachers; it's for teachers in any area
Yep.
of
So
education.
there'll be a mainstream sort of teacher program, teacher licensure program, and then within that there'll be a special immersion track for folks that are interested in
Yeah.
that line. So
Okay. And how is the development of Ojibwe language stories, printed materials, teaching materials? Is that being developed at maybe your level of doctorate and the other people that serve in that realm? How are those school materials being developed?
yeah, really good question. So being that we've only been a literate sort of language community with a standard orthography, a standard writing system since 1995.
Okay.
So if you think about that over the course of our history, there's really been a lot of stuff created in no sort of consistent presentation of it. So
Right.
um, as far as curricular materials go across the schools, those are usually created in-house, and that the demand for that usually falls on the teachers that are teaching. So people are pressed with this huge
Right.
sort of wearing multiple hats responsibility.
Yeah.
And then, there's no mainstream assessment models to use with emerging kids. So,
Sure.
you're an assessor as well. So, the talent and the expectations of our immersion folks is really, really significant. So trying to build a program at the university that supports that and prepares people, and the more professionally trained individuals we get out there, the more or the less recreating the wheel
Right.
we'll have
Yeah.
to do at every grade level and expansion and such. So
So,
um,
who does the publishing of the curriculum? Is that happening at the individual schools, or is the university looking at doing a centralized curriculum publication?
yeah, that's good. So a lot of times what schools will do is produce their own stuff.
Yeah,
Some schools will produce stuff for distribution to other places, either purchasing or sharing. One of the mean Midwest Indigenous Immersion Network initiatives is curriculum sharing. So they've created a space online for
sure.
all these schools to store their curriculum for sharing among the other schools. So um, as far as like the publication, the mass production of things go, we haven't really got to that level, but our university would be well situated and well
Right.
suited to carry some of that work. Maybe, the next phase of our education program is an actual curriculum development specialization or something along those lines. I think
Yeah.
it'd be a huge need for that the further we grow with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to Dr. Swager about that, would you?
Hmm. Put that on our to-do
Yes.
list. Yeah.
um, your newly revamped Ojibwe Moan programming, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What's happening with that program and how is it being revamped?
All right, good. So we've switched to what you could consider a communicative paradigm, they call it in language teaching. So rather than language class consisting of uh, assignments on the board,
Mm-hmm.
discussions on the board about how the language works, we try to spend a lot of our class time engaged in the language through different activities and different prompts. And so using communication and, it's I'd say about 80% immersion, where you get most of my students, it's the most Ojibwe they've ever heard in their lives
Yeah.
after week one, and getting
Wow.
people comfortable with hearing it, comfortable with using it. Um, we like to create this safe environment so students don't feel scared to say it wrong. And I really encourage
Mm-hmm.
students and remind them, you got to say it wrong 100 times before you'll ever get it right,
Right.
and might as well utilize this safe space to do it because nobody's gonna laugh at you or tease you here. We're all in this together, so it's really a different way of approaching it. And what you see is if a student signs up in the fall into August and they jump right into Ojibwe 1, well, by December I got them talking um, pretty dang good, and they get up and they can speak in front of a crowd, and I make them do a speech. And um,
Wow.
after one semester, I think they feel real sense of pride and ownership as a language user, not just a language student. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
language users, and we're seeing a growing number of that in our communities, not only here at LCO, but also at Red Cliff and Bad River, especially. They're really, if we got any listeners out there from those areas, they got some immersion adult programming going on in their communities, and some of those immersion trainees Zoom into my classes, and
Okay.
they are really, really doing an impressive job. They've been at it almost over a year, just over a year now. And yeah, they got some of those trainees can talk some really good Ojibwe. So yeah, that's exciting, really exciting.
Oh, very cool. And then I'm assuming out of that uh, need, or you seeing that growth there, you're establishing an Ojibwe language club.
Yeah,
How does that work?
that was really student generated, student
Okay.
initiated, and so our students, there's a lot of them. So what happened is when we opened Ojibwe 1, the class was capped at 15 the first semester I got there, and it filled, the moment registration opened. So we bumped it up to 20, and a few hours
Wow.
later it filled, and we bumped
Oh
it up to
my goodness.
25, and a few hours later it filled. So we're at 25 language students in Ojibwe 1, and everybody who signed up after that got waitlisted. And pretty soon our wait list was at 20 or 25. And so what I did is made the decision to offer another section. So we opened up another section of Ojibwe 1, and we had 2 sections with 25 plus students in each one
Wow.
for Ojibwe 1. So the demand was huge. And in that 50 students, if you will, that first semester, a lot of them were from a range of age groups. So you have your um, youngsters fresh out of high school coming into language class, first
Mm-hmm.
year of college. We have grandmas and grandpas from all over Ojibwe country that Zoom in and attend in person, and everybody in between. And a large number of our language students are already working professionals, employed in
Wow.
various fields with various degrees, who are enrolled for, the desire to learn our language. So, what you saw among the students was a real desire to build some community and do some fun stuff outside of class. And so one of our students, Roberto Pacheco, he's a student senator as well, real active in the
Mm.
campus community. And he brought it to the student senate. There's a sort of formal process you have to go through to establish an official club, student club at the university. So he did all that, asked if I'd be willing to be an advisor. I said, heck yeah. And so they named themselves the Ginji Bagwesiwag, and they usually meet once a week on Mondays. Summertime, it's going to be a little more sporadic, but they are planning some activities and meetings for the summer. Um, but anyway, a Ginji Bagwesi is uh, what we call a leaf counter, or it's a little golden finch, as I think is its name, little yellow bird.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our relatives north of the border, around the Border Lakes region, they consider the Genji Bagwesi like the spiritual caretaker of our Ojibwe and our Anishinaabe language. So they'll make their tobacco offerings and offerings out to Genji Bagwesi, and ask that our language students, that the language comes to them easily, that they can pick it up easy, and that
Yeah.
they can carry it with them and teach it to others. So it's a sort of spiritual, iconic figure
Mm.
in the Anishinaabe culture, the Ginji Bagwesi. So the language club picked that for their name, the Ginji Bagwesi, was the
Okay.
real spirit keepers of the language, which is cool name, yeah,
Yeah.
significant for sure.
Wow. There was a burning question I had is how is the language evolving, because we have new words, new technologies that are being introduced. I mean, how do you say, computer RAM or LCD screens or all these new technologies that are out there? How are these new words developed and integrated into the language?
Yeah, that's really fascinating stuff. So Ojibwe is what we call a polysynthetic language. And what that means is each word consists of multiple meaningful pieces. So what you're referring to with lexical innovation, or the creation of new vocabulary, that's actually an ancient traditional process for the
Okay.
Ojibwe people. So if you think about the course of our history, and with the introduction of new items into the culture, think about that first airplane flying over Ojibwe people. What
Oh,
they call it? Think about that first jug of booze coming off the boat, what'd they call it? The first gun they ever saw, what'd they call it? So we get all of these ideas from the tradition, right, on how things were named. Now, as we move into the future, we have a lot of, like you mentioned, technological vocabulary needs that arise, and our schools are really good about um, assembling elders,
Mm-hmm.
lexicon committees, if you will.
Yeah.
And I've been involved with a number of those projects, and how that works is usually immersion educators will compile lists of vocabulary, phrases, stuff that they feel they need in the classroom to
Okay.
deliver the content.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times our really, really good second language users can propose terms,
Sure.
right? This, well, maybe we could call it this. So a lot of times we'll have a starting point when we start those sessions with the elders, because if you turn on a recorder and ask an elder, how do you say LED screen? That's going to be a tail chasing. You know,
Yeah.
first off, you're gonna have to explain the whole thing
Right.
to the elder and have to give a good description of it. So a
Yeah.
lot of times, if you have a term already proposed, that'll give you a starting point. And they'll say, "Well, that sounds kind of funny," and they'll fix it for you, or they may approve it and say, "Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
Let's call it that." So you, and like I said, with the language, the structure of the language, the pieces mean stuff. So we had a lady here, one of our most prized elders, Jean Guishabun. She was one of the pioneers of this
Mm.
whole language movement, Rose Tainter. And she came up with the word Wisagade Sijagun, and that means pizza. And wherever you go in Ojibwe country now, just about everywhere you go, that's what people call pizza, Wisagade Sijagun. And literally it means heartburn pie. So, but because of the pieces in the word, and
Yeah.
if the context is clear, speakers, users of the language, they
Okay.
immediately know what it means. Same goes for things like a computer, a microphone. It's the pieces that's contained
Sure.
in the vocabulary itself that tells what it means. It's a real, when people say it's a descriptive language,
Right.
that's what they mean. Harold Frog, one of our elders here at Odawazaga, he used to say, we paint pictures of our words. And the
Mm.
reason we're laughing so hard is because some of us can make some really, really funny pictures.
That's great. And speaking of language and teaching, now this is not on our discussion list, but I know you've been involved in some language teaching curriculum through I forget the name of the company.
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone. You and your kids and some other kids have been working on this project. How has that been developed, and are you liking the results from that?
Yeah, that's really cool. So, yeah, the Mille Lacs Band, that was their initiative. They funded that project, and it's ongoing. So,
Yeah.
I think it's what you could consider season one, or level one has
Right.
been released and is in use. And man, I heard some stats from the Anjabamandizing office that it was like in 22 different countries, and I don't remember how
Wow.
many thousands of users, but it's taken off. I get a lot of feedback from users on how to fix it up or chic it up, but my role on it really is that sort of backside editor, spell checker. So as they work through the scripts and the content, sometimes they'll email me questions, or they'll ask me to take a look at a particular script that they're working on, or check the spelling on this, or so sort of that nerdy
Yeah. Right.
proofreading role. But we know that when they put out the call for actors, so Rosetta Stone, is this powerhouse and language learning
Right.
software, and so they have a whole team of people. And when they took on this project, they put out a call for actors. So they create these videos, and they base all the lessons and the content around these videos and the
Mm-hmm.
recording. And it's on your phone, so you just kind of move through it like an app, and you talk into it. It's got speech recognition and all this. So they needed a lot of
Wow.
voices. They needed a lot
Wow.
of actors. So they put out a call, and they actually traveled around to different Ojibwe communities and auditioned actors and
Mm.
actresses. So they were here at Wadukodading, and probably a year before they started filming. And yeah, they cast my boy Preston Money Dude. He got cast as one of the lead actors. His name in the series is Mick, which was also the name of one of my elders who taught me. So he's known as that. That's his Hollywood name for Rosetta
Yeah.
Stone. And then
Yeah.
my niece Ava Pettibone Medwewe Beneshi, she got cast as the lead actress in the family. So when you move through the app, you watch these videos, and it's sort of family based. It's about
Sure.
these kids and their parents, and them going to
Hmm.
school and going racing and sugar bush and hunting, and it's all based around the season. So every few months we got to bring those kids over to Mille Lacs so they can do their
Oh,
filming, and
okay.
that's ongoing. So I believe the Mille Lacs band committed to 6 or 7 levels of Rosetta Stone programming, and I think this year marks the
Wow.
3rd year of filming. So I think they're almost halfway through the series. So it'll be going on for a few more years, and I think it's every year they want to release the next level,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
users can keep moving with it. So it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah, that was very cool. When I know WOJB was the facility that Rosetta Stone's been using for the audio
Yeah,
recordings
yeah,
of
yeah,
some of the voices, and that was just kind of cool that, where this community's been part of that work.
yeah.
So,
Real proud.
um, student interns and opportunities. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I tell this to a lot of students, and we have a great work-based learning program at the university and placement opportunities. So for people that are interested in taking classes but want to work, need to work a little bit, I believe they get up to 20 hours a week, and
Yeah.
I think it's around $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I personally take on a couple interns every semester, and I have one now, Niju Devi, who's a real rock star, another Rosetta Stone voice, Wadukadading alumni, and she's my teaching assistant. So she does a lot of work
Oh,
for me. And this summer, she's working with me on recording, and we're building some language programming for the website, for the university's website, and also have another intern, Wasegi Jugukwe, Jalen Corder, another one of my recorders and engineers in the studio. We got a little makeshift studio set up in the basement now for
okay.
language recording, and
Yeah.
so that's what they're working on this summer. And I had a previous intern, Wasegi Tim Barber, and he helped me out with just about everything we had going on, from language classes to events, and my visits to Wadukanating and everything. He was real good. So what I try to do with my interns is get them real experience in this language trenches, of the work that happens, boots on the ground kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
language work, and real proud of that. And I tell, aspiring students, I speak to the high schoolers from time to time and tell them, if you got a passion to learn language, come over here. You got this opportunity right here, and we'll even hook you up with one of these internships and get you working. And so yeah, any language students out there interested, listening, come see us.
Sure.
We'll be happy to have you.
And there's other internships in the other majors. I know one of our we had an intern here at the station. Well, a couple over the past several years. We've had interns here, but one of them stayed. We have Keisha
Right on.
has been. She's a business major and continuing on in her education, and we keep her here as an intern in our business area. She works as our receptionist. We've had other interns come in and just help us with who are techie kind of people who are interested in the audio and video arts, and have them here as well. So there's a lot of great opportunities just for the community to have an intern and those internship opportunities. So
Yeah, that's awesome, and that really is what the mission of the university is to provide our community with those professionals, people that can come in and take over in the workforce. That's the real
yeah,
goal of what we're doing.
and that on the job element is really huge because
Crucial. Yeah,
classroom books and lecture time can only do so much to prep them for where they're going to in their
for
majors.
sure,
So
for sure.
that really helps. Um, let's see here. Jessica was asking us to maybe talk about the alumni of the year, where they have nominations that are closing. Actually, I think they closed. It
Yesterday,
was
it looks like we
yesterday.
missed the boat.
We missed. Well, let's head down to the gala. What do you know about the gala, and how's that going to be happening?
Yeah, so that's a big networking fundraising
Mm,
initiative for our alumni association, and it's a real fancy get together. People
yeah.
dress up and have music and fine dining, and a real unique opportunity to come rub shoulders with some of the faculty and administration and alumni and see the alumni that are really thriving out there
Sure.
in our community and other communities. So yeah, it looks like this year is June 16th. I believe that's a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
5 o'clock, open indoors, networking. 6 o'clock will be dinner, and then that'll be followed by music from our own library mic, I believe, up until
Oh,
8 o'clock.
okay.
$50 a person is the cost, and it's catered by the steakhouse, so it's gonna be a
Ooh,
good one. Yeah, and there's
yeah,
table sponsorships available.
very cool. And then the seventh generation intertribal leadership summit that's coming up. I've heard a lot about these the past couple years and the value of this leadership summit. Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's in conjunction with College of Menominee Nation. They're a huge
Mm-hmm.
sponsor of that. So LCO hosts it every year, and College of Menominee Nation sends students and faculty and presenters, and they invite keynote speakers from a range of different disciplines or industries, if you will. Education, technology, culture, and language is one. Economic workforce development is another. Health, medicine, safety, as well as the environment with research, protection, policy, and legislation. So you get a real mixed bag of academic
Yeah,
presentations and community level scholars and people that do work in our communities among those different areas of service. So it's a growing gathering. It's really picking up steam, and we've had some real huge speakers come in. So last year we were honored to have one of our keynote and a child American Indian boarding schools and that whole
mm,
generation. So she was here in LCO, and for some of us nerdy Anishinaabe, she's a celebrity. So that was really really cool to see that. So we welcome everybody to come, and it's in October.
yeah,
What's our dates? October 11th through the 13th. And it usually has some fun involved. I know there was a gulf outing included with it last time, and so they get people pontoon rides. I think there's a lot going on the summit weekend. And
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Wow, a lot of great things that are happening, man. You're a busy person, and the university is becoming busier and busier too. It's just been amazing to see all the work. I had talked with Dr. Swager last week about some of the big picture items of housing that's going to be going in out at the farm, and some program enhancements and increases in what programming is available there. So a lot of great things happening at the university. Appreciate you coming in, Mr. Mike, and
yeah, maybe thanks for having me.
talking to us here at WOJB. You've been listening to a discussion with Dr. Mike Sullivan here on WOJB from the Courte Ojibwe University.